I'm a certified credit counselor, and I just learned a few things from Sean. So I want to say thank Sean, and all the information that he presented is fantastic, and I will be getting on your calendar to make sure that I incorporate the things that you talked about into my presentation so that I can be sharing that information out with folks as well. So what I am going to present to you today is actually the full content of what we will break down in our sessions over the course of this year coming up. Okay, so we'll break it down in bite-sized pieces. I appreciate that I see people taking notes and, kind of absorbing the information, but don't feel like you have to try to write down everything that I'm going to talk about this morning, because we're going to go back over it. I have no problem with sharing information, so usually what I'll do too is send you my this presentation, so that way you have it. I want you to not only know it for yourself, but I want you to share it with your children. I want you to share it with your friends, your family, because this information is stuff that we have not been taught anywhere, ever. And so as I learned it, I'm like, oh, I got to share this information. And so I'll talk to other CDFIs. I have no qualms about sharing information so that we can all grow together. So I refer to this as a credit building journey, because as Sean talked about, that time frame is probably one of the most important pieces of building your credit stronger. And so I refer to it as the credit profile, instead of just referring to your credit score, because your profile is really what we want to impact. Okay, so we're going to dig into that, and I'm going to probably talk a little faster than, of course, I'm going to talk to you all when we get on the phone and we're on that virtual call. So just hang in there with me. But I know we've got some time things that we need to make sure that we work through. Hi, Zakia. And so we're going to get through this together. But here's how I start. So remember yesterday I was telling y'all I've had people cry on me before. I don't want that for y'all. So some of you may have pulled out your credit reports and had a moment, and that's fine. But here's the thing. I like for people to know that you are more than your credit score. So your credit score does not determine your worth as a human being, even though that may have been the intent originally when they were created, as Sean talked about. You're not alone. If you have a low credit score or no credit score, so do millions of other Americans, okay? And so about half of credit reports do contain some sort of error. So that's why you want to check your credit report regularly. And a credit score is really just based on a point in time. So as of this moment, when your credit report was pulled, that was your score. 2 weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now can be a totally different number, okay? So I like to level set to help you know, again, when Linda and I talk with you, we're not judging you based on this score, because we know this score is not indicative of who you are as a human and the value that you bring to the world, okay? So, but although it doesn't do all that, you should still care about your credit score. I've had people talk to me about, oh, I don't worry about my credit score because, money is just a social construct. Well, it might be, but last time I checked, the way my bank account was set up, I needed to have something in it, and I needed to have some credit to do the things that I wanted to in life, okay? So having your credit, having a good credit score is your buying power, gives you the opportunity to secure a small business loan. Even if you have a W-2 job, sometimes your employers will check your credit. Depending on what kind of job you have, if you're dealing with somebody's money, they want to know, oh, did this person just file bankruptcy? Are they going to embezzle because they got some money issues? Like, for real. You can get better rates on your car loan, your mortgage loan, your credit cards, even things that are not always on your credit, your utilities, your leases, your cell phone. You can get better and lower deposits on those items. You can get better rates on your auto, home, and life insurance. You can bridge those funding gaps. You might have, $10,000 to put towards your business, but you need 10 more. Where are you gonna get that money from? If you've got stronger credit, you're gonna be able to get that money easier and at a lower interest rate. So you're not paying them back 25 cents on the dollar. That's high, y'all. You want to, personally, I think that having a strong credit profile and a strong credit score can help you reduce your stress. Because if something pops off or there's an emergency and you're trying to figure out how am I gonna pay for this thing, if you got strong credit, call your banker. And they'll be like, oh, I can give you that personal loan. Oh, you don't have any collateral? Oh, no problem. You've got a 750, you've got an 800. We're not worried about you. Here you go. Because credit, they want to give credit to people who don't actually necessarily need it. So you want to be strong enough that you don't really need the credit. Like for real, people with the best credit sometimes don't even need the credit. And so there's different strategies that people use to leverage credit so that they're not having to use all their cash because it might be cheaper to use the credit. It allows them to extend some things out further. Now, I am not a CPA. I cannot break that down for y'all, but I just know that it's done, okay? Now, also, I think that having strong credit can help ensure the financial future for your family, because when it's time to, enroll your child in a specific program, you have the ability to be able to do that. If it's time to go to college and you need to get a Parent Plus loan, I'm not doing it. But if you need it, and I've told all my children, but when you need those type of opportunities, you can get it and you don't have to worry about it. And I think it can be a motivator for your family and your network, because people are watching you, whether you know it or not. People are watching your moves. They're watching your moves of your business. We know that people watch how we dress and what we drive and all that, but people are watching like, well, how does she buy such and such? How does she go on this, vacation? So when people know that you're doing smart things financially, they want to know how to do it too. And so that's an opportunity for you to share your knowledge and the information that you've come across so that we can strengthen each other, okay? As Sean talked about, there's a FICO score. FICO stands for, came from Fair Isaac Company, a couple old guys back in the 50s who decided they were going to put together some numbers and create a credit score. There's also Vantage Score, which is a different score model that was created by the three major credit companies. So most banks, most lenders, about 90% of them are going to use the FICO score. A lot of times what you'll see on those free credit reports and free credit scores is a Vantage score. So you want to pay attention to that. Your main concern should be your FICO score, because if 90% of lenders are using it, that's what you want to make your focus, okay? Vantage score can be still an indicator for you. Most of the stuff that we'll talk about here in just a moment will, if you do the right things, both your Vantage score will increase and your FICO score will increase. But when you're going online and you're pulling those scores, make sure that you're looking at a FICO score, okay? Now, even within FICO and Vantage score, they have different models for different lenders. I'm going to give an example. This may not be 100% accurate, but let's just say you're going to get a mortgage, and most mortgage companies use FICO score model number 4. You don't have to worry about that per se. Just know that when you see your FICO score in one place versus from another source, it could be two different scores because it's a different model. So there's a FICO score 4, there's a FICO score 8, there's a FICO score 10. It might be based on whether it's a mortgage company pulling it, the car, your auto loans, different things like that. So I say that because people are like, well, I just pulled my FICO score and it said I had a 710, but over here it says I have 675. Which one's right? Both. Because it just depends. There's so much math, so many algorithms, so many people who get paid a whole lot more money than me to figure out, how to put these models together based on a lot of those trends and data that Sean referred to earlier, okay? Every now and again, they'll have a new version of FICO score or Vantage score that comes out to try to comply with different laws, different advances in technology, etc. So just know that it's more about the behavior, but sometimes when people talk to me, they're like, I just saw my score and it said this. Why does yours say this? This is part of the reason why. Now, you have, your credit score can vary between all three different credit bureaus, and a part of that is because maybe my Verizon cell phone bill only reports to my TransUnion account, but it doesn't report to my Experian or my Equifax. Well, that's automatically going to create some sort of difference. It may not be a wild difference, but there's a difference there. So each one of your creditors, they determine who they're going to report your information to. As Sean mentioned earlier, some creditors don't report anything until you mess up. Some creditors report everything to all three bureaus. They determine when they want to do that and the why. They just have to be consistent on it. So they can't report you like every 3 months when you're doing good. They have to report you all the time when you're doing good, or they can report you just when you're doing bad, okay? So what is defined as a good score for FICO is between 670 to 739. What's defined as good on Vantage is 661 to 780. They determine what's good, what's fair, what's poor, what's excellent. And we just try to, I encourage folks, let's try to get to good and then worry about excellent, okay? So people are like, oh, I have to have perfect credit. You don't have to have perfect credit to get the things that you want at good interest rates and good, low deposits and all that kind of stuff. We want to get you to a really good, strong credit score so that you can get those things that you need. But as Sean talked about, like with the certificates, if you have a hair license versus a brain surgery degree, it's going to be the same. It's kind of the same in credit score. So if you have an 800 to an 850, y'all getting the same interest rate. So you don't have to worry about I have to get to the 850. We don't want you to obsess over those numbers. You want to get to good enough for the things that you need. Okay. So Sean talked about this already with the FICO score. I like your little circle chart thing, so I might change that up. Thank you. But with FICO, you'll see exactly what he talked about. Mine is just broken down in bullet points. With Vantage Score, you'll see a lot of similarities. Payment history for them is 40% versus 35. Credit mix is credit age and mix. They lump together, and it's a little bit higher. They also look at recent credit applications as well as available credit. So there's a few differences. Again, I like to just share this information with you, but that focus still, in my opinion, should be on the FICO score. Typically, you'll see that if you do the right things, both your FICO score and your Vantage score will increase. Okay. So I have some rules for rebuilding credit. I have some do's and some don'ts. These do's are not comprehensive, so it's not every single thing in the world that you should do. These are just some good guidelines, and it'll be the same for the don'ts. So when you get a loan, pay down the balance as fast as you can. So maybe you got a $10,000 loan. You can actually afford to make $500 payments, but they're only saying make $250. Pay the $500. Bring those balances down faster, and that's going to have a bigger impact on your credit score. Make every payment on time. Like, I can't stress that one enough. Even the things that you don't think. So when I was younger, I thought, oh, if it don't show up in my credit report, well, I can kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. I'll pay that one later. Well, if you don't pay something and they decide to go ahead and put it on your credit report because you didn't pay, it just hurts you because they weren't reporting it on time. They weren't reporting when you're on time, just when you're late. So it's kind of like a gotcha game. They caught you slipping, and now they can put it on your credit report. And so I encourage you to pay every payment on time or early. Ain't nothing wrong with early. If you are past due on payments, get caught up on those and pay off collections and make sure that it gets reported. We'll talk more in depth about when you should pay off collections and when you might want to leave it alone because there's some legalities in that. Again, Linda and I are not lawyers, but we can read you what we see from like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and some other resources so that you know what makes sense when. Communicate with your creditors and ask for help. I think this is a really big one that too often people don't do. A lot of times it's because of pride and ego. It's embarrassing when you can't pay something on time. You kind of feel bad about it. You don't want to have to talk to anybody about it and have them looking at you, well, you think they're looking at you. They just on the phone, but looking at you crazy. But you don't know those people. You ain't gonna see them again. So don't worry about what they think. If something is, if your finances are just a little off right now, have that conversation over the phone. Let them know, hey, things are not going the way that I thought they would. I need to see if you can allow me to change my payment due date to the 15th instead of the 1st. But always have a plan when you call and have that conversation with them. So that way you're not just saying, hey, I can't pay. They're gonna be like, okay, so when can you? Help them help you. So, look at your budget, which we'll talk about how everybody needs to have one. I know it's a dirty word, but every now and again I have to use B words. So, budget, y'all, come on. But I want you guys to just think about, what is it that you can do that can allow you to get back on top of that payment and stay on top of that payment. If you see errors on your credit report, dispute those. It's not hard to do, and you don't have to pay anybody else to do it for you. Have your creditors, before you go paying any collections, have them validate and verify those accounts, okay? Because you want to make sure, am I paying what's actually owed, or is this a mistake that the original creditor sent to you? I done paid $200 more on that since you got that. And you just want to make sure you're paying the right amount before you go paying that collection off. You want to make sure that debt is actually yours. It could belong to somebody else with a similar name to you. Now, there's not a lot of Kaliah Ligons, so it's probably mine if it's on there. But, you know, if your name is Sam Smith, I mean, that could be any old Sam Smith. There are mistakes that get made. Wrong information gets put on people's credit reports from time to time. But conversely, if you know the debt is yours, pay the debt, okay? You do have the opportunity, if your credit is just at that right level, to ask for a credit line increase on your revolving credit scores, on your revolving credit accounts, your credit cards, but you don't want to use it. So let's say you have a $5,000 credit card. Lord, I'm trying to do math in front of people. Let's say you have a $5,000 limit credit card. You've spent all $5,000. Your utilization is at 100%. You've used every penny that they gave to you. That's not good. Okay, so you don't get a prize for using it all. It's not like, you know, it's not like getting an A on the test. 100% is not good in credit. But let's say you ask them to increase your line to $10,000. Okay, now that $5,000 limit that you have, utilization that you have, is 50%, because now you have a $10,000 limit. You're only using 5, so you've lowered your utilization rate. That can have an impact on your credit score. Again, you have to be at just the right credit score for them to even approve that. So let's say you're in the 500s. We're not asking for increases right now, okay? They're going to be like, no, no, don't. You're not ready. And they might not be nice about it. I'm not going to lie. But they're usually, you know, you'll get a decline. So you want to do that strategically, okay? And then this sounds counterintuitive because we're talking about credit, but I can't stress enough, as you have the opportunity, when you get big windfalls of money, whether it's, y'all, we're probably not getting big tax refunds in here because we're all business owners, but, you know, but if you get tax refunds, you know, things like that, you get those big windfalls, you win a lawsuit, usually those little checks is like $1.30 from some insurance company. You'd be like, for real? Anyways, I digress, but, you know, when you get windfalls of money, save, save, save. Because the more cash you have saved, the less credit you need to use. So, and certain things I usually encourage people to save for all the things that you know are coming up that you're going to need. So if you know that you want, so my example, my parents' 50th wedding anniversary is next year. And I'm like, my parents like to celebrate. I need to save. I don't want to run my credit card up throwing them a big party, so I actually got to call my brother and tell him to save with me, because this is going to be a joint thing. But you want to save for those things that you know are coming up. Who in here owns a car? Okay, pretty much everybody. What do cars need? Tires, oil changes, spark plugs. You might need a timing belt. You might not know that you're going to need a timing belt, but just know that if you plan to keep a car over 10 years, you're going to replace some stuff. Save for it. It's not an emergency. We all know that cars aren't built to last. So if you have that savings, that's credit that you don't have to use for that particular item. Build those things into your budget. You may not anticipate that you're going to have to do some certain type of maintenance, but if you're setting aside even $25 a month, that's less money that you have to pay when that thing comes up. Everybody in here celebrates birthdays. Put birthdays in your budget. April, we are so broke in my family because there's like 6 birthdays. So, and we're just like, people, I don't know what y'all doing in the month that y'all conceiving, but change the month, okay? Because we can't take any more April birthdays in our family. But seriously, we know that when April comes around, we need to have saved so that we can get everybody some sort of birthday present or do the dinner. So with that dirty word B, that dirty B word, budget, add those things into your budget. You know they're coming up. Just go ahead and have it planned for. If you have a credit union account, credit unions will usually allow you to open multiple savings accounts, and you can put whatever name on it you want. So if you have, it could be birthdays, it can be holidays, it can be dental work, it can be cars. It don't matter. Just go ahead and create those savings account and save, save, save for everything that you need. Don't make your payments late. Sean talked about length of time. Don't close your oldest credit card. Keep it open. Even if you don't think it has the best history, it's history. And so that's what they want to see. If you do have some collections accounts, you still want to make all your regular payments. Don't prioritize that collection account. So you want to stay right on everything that you're already paying, and then deal with that collection account after you've had that conversation with the creditor, you validated the debt, you've had them verify it, you confirm that it's yours, then deal with that creditor and worry about that collection. Make your best attempt not to use any more than 30% of your available credit card limit. So I gave you a 100% to a 50% utilization example earlier because it was easier for me to do math in front of all y'all, but you really want to have 30% or less. So if you have a $10,000 credit line, you want to try to keep that, how much you spend at $3,000 or less, okay? And as you, even with your credit cards, I should have said this on the dues, pay more than the minimum on those as well. The credit card payments are designed to keep you in debt for a long amount of time because they earn money off of the interest that you pay. So you want to, if the payment is only $20 and you can see that your balance is $10,000, how long is it going to take you to pay that card off? You will be paying that card off until you are in Social Security age, okay? So, and you want to have them paid off, I imagine, before you hit Social Security age, because then your income is much more fixed. Don't sacrifice your hard needs. You have to have a place to live. You have to have food on the table. I would even put clothing on here. It don't have to be Prada, Gucci, and all that. But, don't sacrifice your hard needs. There's certain things that you have to have, so you don't want to prioritize paying creditors over doing what you need to do for your family. Don't max out your credit cards, and don't stop saving, okay? So even if you can only put away a little bit each month, the habit of saving will fuel you. And as you see those accounts grow, you're going to feel better about that. You know that you have a resource to use and not have to go to credit in order to get the things that you need. So people usually will be like, okay, Kaliah, if I follow these dues, I don't do the don'ts, how much will my credit score improve? It really depends because time is your friend. A lengthy amount of time is your friend. So you all are getting ready to get this $1,000 credit loan, credit builder loan. We don't want you to be like, oh, I'm just going to pay it right back. No. Take the 12 months. Pay the $82 and some odd cent payments each and every month because you want that 1 year history on there, okay? You want them to, basically they know, they feel better, and I say this proverbial they, lenders feel better about seeing somebody who pays every month on time than just hurries up and pays it all off at once. Because you might have just got a windfall, so it might not really tell them who you are in terms of managing your credit, okay? I believe and I've read that your score could increase 100 points or more with on-time payments and pulling things out of collections, getting those things paid off, okay? Now, again, that's over time, so it's not tomorrow, it won't be next month, and you want to monitor your credit to see how is it improving over this time frame, okay? And notice that your credit score may vary by your credit bureau because likely it didn't start off at the exact same number between all three credit bureaus. And depending on which creditors are reporting, you'll notice everything should be moving in the same direction, but you won't end up with the same score for all three. Okay. So I usually try to share where you can get more information because, it's a lot of info. You can get your free annual credit report from annualcreditreport.com. That one, I think, is the only one that's authorized by the federal government to do the annual credit report, like where they have to give it to you for free. Okay. Now, because of COVID, I believe, you're able to pull your credit report for free once a week through the end of the year. So I think there was just so much fraud and so many wild things going on with COVID that they said people need more access to their credit. So through the end of the year, you can actually pull a free credit report from annualcreditreport.com once a week. Now, you're not going to need to pull it that much, but if you can check it once a month if you want to. If you just paid something off, you want to see, okay, did it report in 30 days? Did it report in 60 days? Did it report in 90 days? Stay on top of your credit report so that way when you do go to apply for credit, you're not sitting there like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had that judgment on there. I didn't know I had, well, they don't do judgments like that anymore, but I didn't know I had this issue on there. You don't want to be surprised when you're sitting in that chair across from the lender. You want to come in there strong, knowing, okay, I know what my score is, I know what's on my credit profile, I'm not going to have any surprises, okay? I personally like to find fun ways to learn new information. Play Money Smart, which is a program of the FDIC. They have some computerized games that you can play. These are good for adults, I believe, as well as youth. So if you want to share this with your kids, your teens, your young adults, it's set up like a little game show with little characters. It's really cute. I think they did a great job. Play the games, learn some new information. They probably have about 15 or so games that you can play to learn about all types of money information. The Federal Trade Commission talks about your rights as a consumer, what creditors can and cannot do when they're trying to collect debt from you, because there's certain laws that they have to abide by. So they can't call you at 9 o'clock at night talking crazy. They can't threaten you. If you tell them, hey, you cannot call me at my job, they have to stop calling you at your job. So the Federal Trade Commission lays all that information out for you. It's a little bit boring reading, but if you're in that situation where you're getting hounded, you want to know your rights, because as soon as you assert that you know your rights, they'll fall in line. But if you don't know them, they're going to keep doing whatever they're doing to try to get that money out of you, okay? Another website that I like is bankrate.com. When you are ready to shop for credit, you want to make sure that you're shopping in a way that you can actually be likely to get approved. Bankrate.com allows you to compare different credit card companies to each other. It allows you to learn a little bit about what each credit card offers. So if you know you want a travel card, or if you want a rewards card, etc., you can look at those side by side and determine which one might be best for you. And it also will give you an idea of what credit score you need. So if you have a 700, but you're trying to get a Amex Black card, not yet. You probably need an 800 for an Amex Black card, but it's going to let you know before you even bother applying, before you get that hard inquiry. Do a little bit of research so that way you know the likelihood of getting approved before you go down that path. Another one that I forgot to put on here is NerdWallet. NerdWallet has a lot of really good information on there about all types of financial topics, and it's easy to understand, I've found, and so I like to go to both Bankrate and NerdWallet for financial information. Linda and I are not financial advisors, but we will often point you to, as we talk about things, we're not going to be talking about credit every single moment. We're going to end up talking about the business. We're going to end up talking about personal stuff, what's going on with your families, what's going on in your lives. And so we'll point you to different things, different resources that we think you may need and utilize through some of these sites. Okay. And with that, I hope that you will be on your way to better credit. So this is my little girl celebrating. Her parents got good credit, y'all.